So pleased to be joined by the head basketball coach at the Citadel, my good friend, Ed Conroy. Ed, I hate to say how long we've known each other, but I think it goes back to maybe a first communion or so with a couple of little kids back in the day.
It's been a while, but always enjoyed picking your brain and finding, going into that vast knowledge that you have about basketball, sports, coaching, you name it. So,
Well, we have had quite a friendship over the years, and I think that was your first tour of duty at the Citadel. This is your second, and you came back to help restore what has been a very rich tradition in Citadel basketball and the climate and culture of that whole situation. I don't know if you want to call it a college or an academy. I'm not really sure, a university. How do you refer to the Citadel?
just as a college, it's the Military College of South Carolina is, I guess, our official title. But I think it's important to note, the military, obviously, we try to take the best of what the military's taught for hundreds of years. They're the best there is at time management and developing habits and discipline and instance orders, all those kind of things. But it is a college, and these guys are here for a world-class education first and foremost. So you have me demanding their time, you have those guys across campus, the military part of it demanding their time, but it is still a heck of a school, and one that they get really prepared for whatever endeavor they go into when they leave here. So I'm always felt privileged to be a part of it, and that's why I hate to correct you right off the bat on the first one, but this is my third tour of duty because I came here as a player as well. So this obviously it's a special place to me because I have a hard time saying no to the Citadel when they ask.
Why is it so special to you, Ed? What matters the most about representing the Citadel?
Well, and I kind of get chills when you say that, because it always brings back the same feelings, and it was really kind of I didn't see it coming. I really didn't. I'll take you back to when I was recruiting, but that was in the mid '80s, and I love the fact that I was being recruited by a Division I school. I was going to high school in Iowa. Iowa was really, I thought at the time, a really under recruited state. But I grew up in Illinois and Iowa, and I'm playing basketball. I'm being recruited by Coach Robinson, and I have an injury in high school. They continue to recruit me when most other schools dropped off, and so I promised them I'd take a visit. But I knew in my heart there was no way in the mid '80s with the last name of Conroy, because at that point the Lord's Discipline was being filmed, the movie, and it wasn't a great time on campus to have that last name. And I knew that it was probably not going to be for me, and I had never spent any time real time in the South, but I did promise them a visit. And when I came down on my official visit, it was in February, my senior in high school, so a little bit of a late recruitment, and it was just the people right away. And it's hard to explain how in 48 hours, but some of the people I'm talking about, whether it's Les Robinson or Richard Johnson or Randy Nesbitt, or those high character and quality of people, but also the alums that were at the game that night where they played Davidson, and other people on campus, professors that I met with, and they really genuinely came across as, hey, if you do decide to come in, we're going to take care of you, not only the next 4 years, but for the rest of your life. And those people have held true to their word. I had that sense as an 18-year-old on a visit. And it's they've been special people in my life ever since. Even the guys that were on that team. My host on that visit was John Hartwell, who's gone on to be the AD at most recently at Utah State. Now he's at Louisiana Monroe. A great player named Regent Truesdale. Just fantastic people. That's what sold me.
Well, we share that common affinity for Coach Robinson, Les Robinson, who was an NC State grad, who I've known for many decades. In your many decades, in your third tour of spanning so much time at the Citadel, what has changed the most about being there, and in particular for you, this job?
Well, Charleston has changed a great deal. It's amazing. I wish I had the foresight to buy some property, or at least maybe I should have right after even 10 years ago. Like just whether it was around campus or different places. Boy, it's just the growth has been incredible. And obviously the price of real estate has changed, but it's the obviously there's been different people over all that time, but the same kind of values and things like that are still present on campus. And so it always has felt like home to me. And I think there's some things that have changed obviously with the school, I would co-ed now, those type of things. And our female sports are doing really well. But for the most part, when our freshmen come in, they have the same fears, the same anxieties, the same feelings that I had. So in some ways, it does change a lot, but in other ways, it doesn't really change much at all. And because I think we're trying to educate and teach some timeless principles. And so, hopefully those things never will change.
Well, I know your basketball journey has been long and vast, and you have learned from a lot of great people. You've impacted so many. Some of the stops along the way, you've been around some really interesting characters that have great passion and are tremendous winners in our game. What have you learned from some along your journey?
Wow, that's a great question. Something I reflect on a lot. I sound like, I'm a lot of times, you're the old man in the office now, because you're telling all the stories and things like that. But almost everything we do, has a foundation in either someone that you played for or coached under or with. And some of the things that we do, honestly, are tributes to them, whether it's the way we name a drill in practice or things like that. I try to keep some of those traditions, alive. But, everything from, with Coach Robinson, just being on the, working with him and being recruited by him, just the way he brought fun, to the game and a relaxed, obviously a fierce competitor himself and loves to compete in anything, but he would bring there's a looseness about it that allowed you to kind of perform at your best. And then after that, I worked with Joe Quintafio, who had worked under Morgan Wooten at DeMatha. Joe was with him. I was with him at VMI and Furman, and I thought just the high school, especially coming from the DeMatha background, just the teaching and how Joe was into just teaching methods and things like that. Buzz Peterson, who I was with as an assistant with, and then we were together at Tulsa, Tennessee, Coastal Carolina. Just a great knowledge of the Carolina system, and him introducing me to kind of Coach Smith and then that whole family and all those legendary brains to pick, if you will, from Larry Brown to Roy Williams, you name it. And then again, fortunately, I get a chance to go out on my own a little bit. I come back, and then I'm working for Richard Pitino and the Pitino family, and just their intensity about individual workouts and doing that all during the season, all year long. Coach Pitino, out my desk is clear right now. He used to come into the office when I was in Minnesota. This is Rick Pitino I'm talking about, but he would fly in to see Richard, and if he saw papers on my desk and didn't see me down in that gym working with the players, he'd ask me what I was doing. So get back to your focus, and then going back with Coach Stackhouse at Vanderbilt last year. Jerry's a terrific basketball mind, and the pro element, the NBA element. So I've been so fortunate just to kind of touch all these different parts of basketball. It's I went to work for IBM right after I left college, and I had a great experience there. But I've been living a dream ever since Coach Robinson called me at NC State. If you'd have told me I get to work with these players and around these coaches and this type of people for my career, boy, I've been really fortunate and live in some great places. I think I win the award for the coach who's lived in the best places. Whether you say Charleston and Raleigh and Nashville and Minneapolis, and I've been really fortunate. And
New Orleans, and you could walk to work there. You could walk to work now if you choose. I mean, that's got to be the way to go, right? I mean, being in a great city, a destination city, and having this great basketball product.
Yeah, my wife asks me sometimes if I give her a ton of credit. She made all these moves look too easy, I think, for my boys, because they want to be coaches, and I said I blame her for that, because you made this look easy. But I think the luck of the places we lived and the people we met along the way has played a big role in it as well.
Yeah, I've enjoyed getting to know some of your family, and it is a family. Like the names that you're mentioning, when you start with Coach Robinson and you work your way through there's so many different people that have intertwined in your career and your path. What do you think are some of the principal things from a core value standpoint, not just the Citadel core values, Ed, but from your time with R.C. Johnson or your time with Richard Pitino, or things that you might have picked up along the way from Jerry Stackhouse? Like, what are some things off the floor that you think really are important?
And I think this, and I would go right back to Coach Robinson and everybody that he surrounded himself with, but all those people that you just mentioned, You know, it starts with thinking about those players and figuring out what they need and how you can serve them. So I would say service is really right at the top. And if you keep that as a focus of what do you need to do to serve those players, and we all get so competitive, but I think that's what's going to bring out the best in them and help you to be the best team you could be, or the most competitive you could be. So that would be right there. And that really goes to the heart of coaching and teaching and all those kind of things. So I would put that right there at the top. A story I share a lot, and anytime you're around those type of people, the other fringe benefit of that, I guess you will, is that you get to meet incredible people along the way as well, because they've been touched by so many. And I'll never forget, and I share this a lot, but Coach Wooden, I had a chance to go to dinner with him one time, and we were together for a couple hours, and it was kind of around about 20 years ago, so about almost midway through my coaching career. And I'm somebody that loves to read. I love to study other coaches. I love to think about, okay, do I need to change the core values this year, that kind of thing. And he, at the end of the night, he kind of just put his hand over my hand, and he said, you strike me, it's been so much fun talking to you, because we can cover so much ground with different people that we both know and things like that. But he said, he goes, I would just encourage you that all the answers you're looking for aren't in those books that you're reading, aren't in those videotapes that you're watching. They're in the answers. It's the 13 players. Just spend time and thought thinking about those 13 young men you coach. And the way he said, and the way he presented it to me, it really struck me. And I've ever since that day, every Sunday night, I have my day timer right here with me. Every Sunday night, I write down the 13 names of the guys in our program, and I just try to spend a couple minutes and thought about what do they need this week. And it was one of the most powerful moments of my career. But then you go back to those core values of trying to serve, and sometimes your core, who you are, won't change, but what they need that week from you could change. And so I try to spend time being current that way.
That's remarkable. I never heard, I've heard so many stories about Coach Wooden, but I never heard a story like that, where he just cut right to the chase, right? Told you what was most important. Most
He
of
did.
the things.
Yeah. I was gonna say, it was a fascinating night, and it was crazy how it even came about. It was totally unexpected. When I went to the office that morning, I didn't know I was going to dinner with Coach Wooden. It was not a planned event. I went to it, and he kind of grabbed me because he wanted to sit next to a coach. It was going to be a long deal, and we just kept talking. And his knowledge, and people in South Carolina, wherever, would just, I wish I had that conversation on tape, because he would ask me questions like, have you ever been to Erskine College? Have you ever been? He was asking me those questions, and I was like, well, Coach, when were you there? And I'm thinking West Coast, but because of his days of coaching at the Campbell basketball camp for years, he knew all the coaches here in the Southeast, and he would follow their teams as best he could, and they would follow him. They would talk all summer about their stuff, and so he was asking me about Red Myers, and there's just names that were only people in South Carolina would know. And I would tell him, hey, because I'd already been a coach at Francis Marion. I said, yeah, coach, I got beat there 5 years ago, and we were laughing about different things. And I would ask him then questions about, coach, who's the toughest, coach for you to ever beat? And I'll never forget, like the twinkle in his eye when he said it. He just kind of get that grit, like he still wanted to coach one more game against this guy. But he goes, that little Tony Hinkle, he always got me, and I was like, oh, coach is like ready to come out of his chair. So we had that kind of a night, and then all of a sudden he hits me between the eyes with that. Like I'm thinking, like this couldn't get any better. And then he says, all those guys you're studying, all that film you're watching, just go back and think about your own guys.
That's remarkable on Sunday nights that you do that. I love that. It's a great practice. I hope people watching and listening that are coaches might employ the same practice. That is what we're supposed to be doing, right? Servicing the young people. And that gets us right into what we're doing with this fundraiser for Special Olympics, Ed. I mean, you've been aware of it for a long time, and you've been a supporter of what we're doing, 24 hours, nothing but net. And I'm so grateful for that. And, it's the same thing. We're trying to service a population that needs a little help. Sport has been the crux of what we've built our foundation on, as parents and as leaders and as coaches. And, the people that have intellectual disability in this community need a little extra support. So, that's what we're trying to do, is do our part, right? Just trying to do our part. And with this crazy idea that has raised a lot of money for Special Olympics. It's been quite remarkable.
No, it's unbelievable. It's really great, and applaud you. It's fun to be a part of it.
Well, I'm so grateful that that you're back and that you're here, and I love hanging out with you on and off the court. You're good for a cold beer at Dunleavy's, but you're also good for some film session, and I love all those things about it. And that Coach Wooden story is remarkable.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and you just need to quit working so hard so we get together more often for that cold beer, that film session. You're always on the road.
I know it was an exceptional year on the road this year. I think I was home 14 nights between New Year's and the end of the Final Four, which would be a lot. But if I was out and could go see Patrick play or go see Frankie, I just stayed out. I didn't come home. So it worked out. It worked out great. And I'm so proud of what you're doing and what you're building, and how much fun it is to go back to McAllister Fieldhouse. I love that building. I know people would say it's old, but I love going in there. Just something about the historic buildings in the South that means so much to hoops.
Oh, McAllister is for me. I'm biased, I know, obviously, but it's I get a great feeling every day I walk in there. It's at the top of the list, and I've been really fortunate. You talk about places I've been able to live, and I used to, when I was here last time, I would try to do some fun things with the schedule, obviously play good opponents, but I like to take our players, to some of the historic venues. Like, so I remember we played up at Penn, because I wanted them to see that. I wanted them to, this year we went to Butler because I wanted them to see Hinkle Fieldhouse. And we've always tried to do that, but I've been able to coach. I was in Reynolds Coliseum, a place that obviously, you're very fond of. And, but I've been at Tulane at their old arena. I've been Devlin Fieldhouse. I've been at Williams Arena at Minnesota, Vanderbilt, with the raised floor. So I've been able to be in some of the iconic venues in college basketball. But for me, McAllister's got to be on that list, because it's when we're doing it right and it's full, that's nothing better. So
yeah, well, Ed, you're the best. I appreciate so much your support, and the Citadel in general. We had Tony Scholl on as well, and you guys are just great community leaders and ambassadors for our city, and I'm so grateful that we're friends.
Oh, well, thank you, and thanks for having me on.